Hi everybody, and welcome to this session about our UK&I graduates and what their day-to-day life is like in their roles. My name's Kath Hope, and my role in HR is to lead the GIA community and to go out to universities, colleges and schools to promote Atos as an employer, but also tech roles, and make sure that students are considering the tech industry when they're looking at their careers. So today I've got 4 of our graduates on the line with me, and they're going to talk about their role at Atos and answer some questions that I'll pose to them. But first of all, I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and tell you a bit about them as individuals. So first of all, Atifa.
Thank you, Kath. Hi, everyone. I'm Atifa Islahi, and I joined Atos back in September 2020 on the software engineering graduate scheme. So I've been here for about 18 months now, nearly coming off the grad scheme, and I'm a full stack engineer. My background is in chemical engineering, so I completed my master's at University of Surrey with a year of placement at BMW before I joined Atos. So had a bit of exposure to industry before I joined Atos. But when I joined Atos as a software engineer, I got trained at the start and also have had several different roles within the software development cycle, which means that I've had a lot of experience in that area.
Thanks, Atifa. If we go for Abby next.
Thanks, Kath. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. My name's Abhi Gunaraja, and I'm 23 years old, and I live just outside London in Surrey. I'm a pharmacy graduate from the University of Nottingham, and currently work with an Atos, and I've been working for just over 4 months now. So I started back in November 2021, and I work as a business consultant within the Digital Transformation Consulting graduate scheme. A bit of a long word, but yeah, I'm currently enjoying it a lot. Most of my roles are around business analyst. So yeah, that's a little summary about me.
Thanks, Abby. Roshana, if you can go next, please.
Thanks, Kath. Hi, everyone. My name is Roshana Chambers. I am a business and management graduate from Aston University, and I joined Atos in September 2021. Just a little bit about my background. So my degree was 4 years long, did a year's placement doing HR for a private healthcare company. And I'm, like I mentioned before, I'm on the account management and sales graduate scheme, and I've just been involved in a few projects here and there, mainly on the sales sides, interacting with clients, that type of thing.
Thanks, Roshana. And last but not least, Mitchell.
Thank you, Kath. Yes, I'm Mitchell Wilson, a business graduate in public sector and defence at Atos. I joined in July 2021, shortly after graduating from Loughborough in accounting and financial management. I did a 4-year degree with a year in industry as well, and I was also an intern at Atos, so I spent my placement year in the sales team at Atos, and really glad to be back as a graduate.
Thanks, everybody. So I'm going to move into the questions for you all now. So I'm going to pose a question and then again ask you each to answer. So first of all, Abby, we're going to start with you. And the first question I'd like to ask is, how did you find out about Atos and what made you want to apply and come and work for us at Atos?
So I first heard about Atos from the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, actually. I noticed that Atos was like the worldwide IT partner for them and have been for the last 30 years. So the timing was perfect because that was the period when I wanted to change my career path from pharmacy into tech consulting. So after doing my research, what really differentiated Atos to me over its competitors was their focus on decarbonisation and their strategic alliances to be net zero by 2028. And that really struck a chord with me, as I wanted to work for a company that had that initiative in mind. I also spoke to people who currently worked in the company through LinkedIn and heard that Atos has a really strong perspective on learning and development, which is really important to me because obviously I didn't have that technical background, but had a demonstrable passion for tech and everything to do with consulting. So I really wanted to join a company and kind of enhance our skill set, both through my client work and also doing training courses outside of it. So I thought Atos would be the perfect place for me to start my career journey.
Brilliant. Thank you, Abby. Mitchell, will you go next on that question, please?
So I first heard about Atos when I was at university. So I went along to an autumn careers fair at Loughborough, which I think was 2018, which Atos were actually sponsoring. So I walked over to the stand and got talking to the colleagues behind the stand there, sort of sharing their experience of Atos, explaining what the company is all about and what sort of schemes they have. And at the time I was looking for a placement. So really enjoyed engaging with the employees that day, and was made aware of a mock assessment centre that evening. So it was held on campus at Loughborough too, and the people that were there during the day were running the session that evening. So yeah, went along, took part in a mock assessment centre, and then applied. I think that evening as well to Atos. So here I am now. But what really stuck out to me was how enthusiastic and passionate everyone that I spoke to from Atos were about working for the organisation, and how sort of passionate they are about their role. And that's something sort of that I was looking for in a career really, as well as I'm not a very technical person. However, I prefer sort of the business side of things, talking to clients and tasks like that. So it really sort of enabled me to sort of be comfortable with applying to Atos. Although it is a tech organisation, it was one in which I could sort of develop my business skills and put my business skills to practice really.
Brilliant. Thank you. Roshana, do you want to go next?
Yeah, that's fine. So funny story, I had a module in my final year called Effective Management Consultancy, which was basically looking at different consulting firms. And that was the first time that I ever came across Atos. From then, when I then started to apply to different graduate roles, I really sort of thought, like, I really want to get into tech. Like Mitchell, I didn't have the technical knowledge and understanding. So I really wanted to work for a company who would be willing to sort of take me on and teach me. So after doing my research, I came across Atos again and I was like, oh, I remember coming across this in my module. Started to look more into it, and I think something that really stuck out to me was just how well presented the whole graduate recruitment section was. It was very detailed and it gave me a clear understanding before I even applied of what I would be gaining from the graduate scheme, the knowledge, the skills, and it just was like tick, 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 literally with everything, because I felt like it was a great company for me to go for as a person who didn't have great tech experience, because it gave me enough room to either go down the really techie route if I wanted to do that, or focus more on the business route, because I didn't exactly know which route I wanted to take. So that was the main reason why I kind of went towards Atos, and that's how I kind of came across Atos.
Brilliant. Thank you. And Atifa?
Yeah, so when I was looking during my placement years, actually when I came across Atos for the first time, but I don't think I understood what Atos did back then. So when I looked at their jobs, I was like, oh wow, this is really interesting. Like I was interested from back then and looked at consulting in general and software engineering, but I think I didn't know at that time whether I wanted to go down the tech route or not. So I ended up going for a different placement. And when I came back to university for my master's year, I think that's when sort of my mind changed on where I want to go and what sort of career I want. Because when I started looking at sort of engineering, and no disrespect to engineering in any way, I wanted to go into an industry that's a little bit more fast moving. There's more opportunities for change, and people are just a lot more open to change as well. And that was really, really important to me. So then in masters, I think I had like a coding module and I was like, wow, I like this. I'm really enjoying this, even though I did 4 years before that in other areas. And then I started looking at tech companies in general. And then, funny story, actually, I had an offer from a different company before Atos offered me the role. And I was sort of adamant that that's what I was going to take. It was like one of Atos's competitors at the time. But then when Atos offered the role, I couldn't say no. And I think the thing that really stood out to me was, first of all, the people. I think from day one, I had really good interaction. I knew what the scheme was going to be like, quite similar to what you said, Roshana. It was very clear that there was going to be training learning, which was really, really important to me. And just to echo what you said, Abby, about learning and development, that was super, super, super important to me, because I didn't want to come out of university and let university be the last time that I learned something new. That would have been a nightmare to me. So coming to Atos, I knew I'm going to be challenged. I knew they're going to expect me to learn and to develop constantly. And that was made clear to me from day one. So then I was like, yep, definitely Atos is the one. And also another thing about the software engineering grad scheme that was really important to me and that stood out is that it's quite flexible. Some of the roles that I was looking at in other places were a little bit more set. So you go into one thing and you do that one thing alone. But obviously 18 months down the line, I've done the whole sort of path now, and I can see how many opportunities I've had. So what I thought at the start actually manifested it itself really well in my sort of grad journey.
Brilliant. Thanks, everyone. That's really great to get your views and how you came across Atos. And I think very interesting that actually perhaps Atos might not be so well known, but definitely worth investigating us and finding out a lot more when looking for graduate or placement roles. So the next question I'm going to ask, and Atifa, I'm going to come straight back to you actually. And the next question is, if you could give one piece of advice to anyone going through the assessment centre process or the application process at the moment, what would that piece of advice be that you would give them?
I'm going to try and stick to one, Kath, but I have like different parts of the same sort of advice. I would say if you're coming into the role, especially whether it's technical or non-technical, it doesn't matter. Really understand what the company does and what the industry is about, because I think that will really help you understand where you want to go. It's not just about getting the job, it's more about once you get the job, what you want to do as well, because opportunities are endless, as we've seen within the tech industry. So I would say really do your research, find out about what we do, make sure that you're interested in it as well, because it is a really different environment to some other industries in a really good way, but you need to be aware of that, and also be as authentic as possible. I think one thing that I've seen at Atos, and I think this all resonates with all of us, is that people are really appreciated for who they are. So don't be someone else, because you will be appreciated for who you are and there will be a place for you. So try and show that through your different experiences and different things that you've done, so they can get a sense of who you are as a person as well. So yeah, I think it's really cliche, but be yourself and try to let us know who you are as a person through some of the things that you've done, and I think you'll be absolutely fine.
Brilliant. Great advice there. If we go to Mitchell next, please.
Yeah, just to echo what Atifa said there, my sort of one piece of advice would be to be your true self. And I say that because, as Atifa sort of alluded to, Atos is an organisation that is diverse and employs people from all different backgrounds with all different career sort of experience. And it's all of that collectively that makes us the organisation we are. We draw upon all different skill sets. So we've got Atifa that I think you said you studied engineering, Abby, Master of Pharmacy, Roshana, Business Management, if I remember rightly, and myself, I did accounting. So that's 4 graduates in Atos. There we are. And I think collectively, we all bring something very different, yet obviously intelligent people and similar and also differing ideas. So I think come across as your true self in the interview process, because Atos aren't looking for the same person. A one-size-fits-all approach. It's people from all different walks of life, with all different experience and talent to bring.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll go to Abby next.
Yeah, I love the point that Atifa and Mitchell said about authenticity. I think that's so important. I'll give one piece of advice that I think is quite universal in particular to any kind of application process you would go through, and in particular to do the interview process. I think it's so important for you to try and tell a story whenever possible and make it as honest and meaningful as possible, and something that can really resonate with the interviewer. So this rings true for most interview questions with the typical, why you, or why this company, or why this role, but also rings true with typical behavioral and competency-based questions. And it's also very important to kind of have a very clear structure when you relay your answer. So for example, I always like following the STAR technique, which is situation, task, action, result, and reflection. So I think it's very important to, have a clear strategic way of, tackling those interview questions and being as honest and truthful as possible, and really create a story that can make you look like an individual compared to your, peers.
Really great advice there. Thank you. Roshana, your piece of advice, please.
Thank you. Yeah, just to go on to what everyone else said, because there's already been, those are great tips. I would say also, drawing on to more to what Abby said, be specific. If you're going to make a statement like, oh, I'm hardworking, explain how you are hardworking. Don't just give blank statements. Don't be afraid to also, show off your skill set, your experience, things that you've done, because in an interview or in an application process, that's your chance. And, you might not get that opportunity again. So use it to the best of your advantage. Use it to be confident in yourself, to speak highly of yourself, and just actively demonstrate the things that you've done.
Brilliant. Yeah, all good advice there, and definitely worth listening to. And listen back to the recording if you want to jot those down and you didn't manage to the first time around. So next question, and I'm going to start with Mitchell this time. So the next question is quite general, and it'll be different for all four of you, I think. But what does a typical day look like for you?
Yeah. So for me, my mornings usually start checking emails and looking at my to-do list of things that I'd like to achieve either in that day or that week. And what I often do is look at the calls I have, look at obviously some of the work that needs to be done, and I start planning my day. So I'm quite old school and have a pen and paper next to me, and I sort of schedule what I want the day to consist of. 9 times out of 10, it does not stick to that, because it's all very ad hoc and you respond to different things that come in. But I like to sort of plan out the day, and as I said, respond to a few emails. Depending on some of the projects I work on, there is usually a daily sort of, we call it a stand-up call, and effectively a group of us that are working on a particular project at any one time will meet for about 15 to 20 minutes every single morning, and we talk about sort of the progress we've made, some of the key actions we need to sort of work on in the next sort of 24 hours, and sort of just come together just to basically make sure that we are meeting what we need to achieve on time. And then, towards the end of the day, again, it's sort of wrapping up, sending out those final sort of emails to colleagues, and sort of just summarizing the day, just making sure that I've got sort of a setup for the next day, and also I'll sort of have that £1 million question towards the end of the day of, if it can be achieved by the end of the day, I will finish it. Whereas if it's still going to be there in the morning, then I'll save it for the following day.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Roshana, can you tell us about your day at Atos?
Yeah, so like Mitchell, I would start my day off just checking my emails, going through those, actioning those, and then sometimes, there'll be, if I'm working on a project, then it will be a case of sort of having some meetings with a few people, sort of strategizing on how we're going to go about a deal or something to do with a client. So doing that. Also, I will, like Mitchell, jot things down, try and make a plan for the day, or say, by the end of the day, this is something that's really important that I need to achieve and get done for my more so urgent tasks. And then, just try and find, again, like a good sort of work-life balance as well. But yeah, on a whole, it's just a case of checking emails, doing some meetings, and sort of strategizing and thinking about how to constantly evolve and, be better, so we can ultimately, give the best service to clients.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll go to Atifa next. What does your day look like?
Do you know what? I'll give a bit of a personal one as well, but I'll keep it nice and short. I mean, I like to, because obviously a lot of us work from home. It's sometimes I'm in the office, but mostly from home. I'll wake up in the morning earlier than I have to start, because I think it's quite hard to go from your bed straight to your desk. I don't think it doesn't work for me personally. So I'd go out, do some form of exercise, something before the day starts, which I think puts me in the right mindset when I come for my day. And I think a lot of times I plan like the week ahead from the week before. So I know exactly what's happening on the days, same as everyone else, check what meetings you've got, get prepared for them. But I think the thing that stands out the most for me is that I do switch between different types of calls. So whether it's a stand-up or whether it's we're talking about some sort of blocker that we're having within the team, or whether it's a client meeting, which we sort of try to meet as an Atos team beforehand so we can get, you know, our story right before we actually meet with a client as well. So yeah, I do switch between a lot of different calls, and even from catch-ups to some planning meetings or just team meetings. It's just because you end up doing more than, or at least I do more than my day job. It just means that I do switch between different things during the day, and then hopefully take breaks in between. Obviously everyone's very open and flexible, so we do understand that you do need to take breaks, you do need to go for a walk and have lunch and things like that. So yeah, my days do definitely change, but I think the most important thing is that you do end up having different types of calls in the day, and some of them are one-on-one, some of them are within the team, but you stay in touch with people.
Brilliant, thank you. And a good point about the homeworking there for people who maybe haven't experienced that before. Everyone deals with it differently, but yeah, making an effort to do something before you start your day's work so that you feel like you are starting work is a really good idea. Abby, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, so for me, I usually like to get gym out of the way in the mornings, and then start my day with some breakfast, and then crack on at 9 o'clock, looking at the same stuff that the others have said, you know, looking at your calendar, emails, Teams, communications. And then the majority of the day really involves meetings, and the meetings will vary depending on the status of the project you're working on and, you know, the day it is. Usually Fridays for me are a lot quieter than you know, Mondays and Tuesdays, for example. But truth be told, that I think in consulting in particular, there is no typical day, and you hear that a lot across the board. And the work that you do really depends on the project you're on, the client you're working for, and the engagement really. So it really does depend. But I would say that for, you know, business analyst roles, the kind of responsibilities you'd be taking is, understanding the business processes, kind of analyzing and evaluating where there are issues and where there can be some improvements to be made. So majority of the day you'll be kind of working alongside, you know, your stakeholders within your client, to kind of get that understanding and work alongside them to kind of make sure the project goes on successful. So yeah, that's typically the day.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so the next question, I'm going to start with Roshana for this one. And the question is, has there been anything that surprised you since you've joined Atos?
Oh yeah, so I think the main thing that surprised me is how collaborative everything is here, and how friendly and approachable everyone is here. One thing that I've always kind of thought is, you know, when I kind of step into like the corporate world or a corporate job, there's going to be all these barriers, and you know, if you want to speak to this person, you've got to go through this person and that person. But at Atos, there's nothing like that at all. Like everyone's so approachable, friendly, and you don't have to sort of think, okay, you know, because this person is working in a senior position, you know, I can't approach them. You can literally approach anyone, and everyone will give you the same sort of enthusiastic, encouraging attitude, and everyone's just so hands-on to help. And I didn't think, you know, the working world was like that at all, but Atos have really demonstrated that, yeah, there is companies that are like that.
Brilliant. We'll go to Mitchell next on that one.
Yeah, just to echo what Roshana said, it's the people really that, well, it didn't really come as a surprise because I'd met them before at the mock assessment centre, but it was really nice to walk into the organisation and everyone was really nice as well. But I'd say the support the organisation has given me so far, and the amount of sort of say I have in my sort of tasks, really surprised me. So I'm on an 18-month graduate scheme that entails 4 rotations. Now, I've been able to actually choose, well, at least 3 of those rotations out of the 4. I was given an option, you know, a list of different rotations, and to me that's allowed me to define my, you know, future career perhaps with Atos, and broaden some skills of mine that the company just have not set out for me. It's great that they've been able to give me this autonomy to choose sort of the things that interest me most. And that really surprised me. I thought something would be laid out for me, but actually they really care about you as a person and what your interests are, and I really value that.
Brilliant, thank you. Abby, anything that surprised you?
I would say what really surprised me was the kind of variety of roles and projects that are available to you, especially in my work stream for consulting. You will never really get bored and can always like move on to another project if you feel like it's time for you to try something new. So it'll give you the chance to work on different tools, different technological applications. For example, like I've been working here for 4 months now, and I've worked with 3 different clients so far. Across robotic process automation, Lean Six Sigma, and digital workplace now. So you do have such a variety in terms of what you can do and the kind of people that you work with, which obviously gives you a massive amount of diversity with the connections that you can make. So it really is valuable.
Brilliant, thank you. Atifa, what surprised you?
I think all the good ones are taken, so I'm trying to not repeat what everyone else is saying. A lot of things surprised me actually. I would say the first big one was that there's no hierarchy. I never knew when I joined who was senior and who wasn't. Everyone was just so supportive and so friendly. It never felt like, and the attitude never existed that I'm more senior than you and you need to listen to me. That just doesn't exist within our teams, which I absolutely loved. But the thing that has surprised me over time, and this is something that I've seen over the past 18 months, is just the fact that I am responsible for my own growth, and my practice expects me to grow and develop, and they will invest in me to do so. So it's almost part of my job to keep developing and to keep learning. I've never been stopped. I've always been encouraged to do that, and they've invested in my training, in my time to do such things, which I think is brilliant because you get to do the job and become better at it and keep growing. And also through that growth, I've had ideas along the way that have also been taken very seriously by the team. So there's sometimes that I'm sat here thinking of something that we could do, or a solution, or something to do with the project, and then when I say it out loud, it's not that just like, oh yeah, like it's just one of our grads speaking. It's that my ideas have been taken very seriously and actually have been brought on board. So yeah, I've always appreciated that, that a lot of things are sort of in my control, and it's up to me how much I want to grow. And I think that's a really good way to go about your career.
Brilliant, great. Okay, so next question. Abby, I'm going to start with you this time. And the question is, have you been able to get involved in any initiatives outside of the day job that you've talked to us about? And if you have, what kinds of things have you been involved with?
Thanks, Kath. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough to get involved in quite a few kind of extracurricular activities roles within Atos outside of the typical client work. It's almost like you feel like you're back in university with the amount of societies that are available to you. So this includes communities such as GIA, which is a grads, interns and apprentices scheme, where I work as a lead for Executalk, an initiative where GIAs can really like learn from senior executives within a business and have open communication with one another. I've also been fortunate enough to work in a scheme called reverse mentorings, which is where you get matched up with someone random within the organization who's more senior to you, and you teach them about a topic that you're interested in. So it gives a chance for you both to learn from one another, but from a very different perspective. Another initiative, for example, is the diversity inclusion team within digital transformation consulting, to drive initiatives that can really increase the diversity and inclusivity within our practice. So these are just a few of the kind of list of roles and societies that you can really get involved in within Atos. And I really urge everyone to kind of get involved in those activities, because I think client work is all fun, but sometimes it can get quite tiring, and it's always good to kind of lean onto something outside of that work and kind of make those connections and, see different faces that you don't typically see from your client work, and kind of also build on your personal brand and create kind of a valuable impact on others that you can do outside of the client work as well. So there's so many benefits to it.
That's really great, thank you. We'll go to Roshana next.
Yep, great. Thanks, Kath. Yeah, I've gotten to get involved in a few things. The biggest thing is being the lead of the GIA STEM network, which is basically a network sort of dedicated to inspiring young people to get involved in STEM subjects and STEM careers. That's been a great platform for me to sort of have a voice and really advocate for people to try STEM subjects. As a person who wasn't really encouraged to go down that route, and sort of figuring it out later on in life is something that's really important to me. And I'm grateful that Atos give me the platform to sort of, you know, talk about my experience. Even though I'm not a person that's, you know, very techy, it still gives me a chance to sort of, you know, look at my career and what I've done so far, speak about it. It's great. Like, it's so rewarding getting to speak to children of all different types of ages, work with schools. So yeah, that's one of the extracurricular activities that I'm involved in that I really enjoy.
Brilliant, thank you. Atifa, what about yourself?
Yeah, I think it's a common thing for everyone to be part of networks. We do have quite a few that I'm a part of as well, such as the Green Network and Together Network. So Green Network focuses on just going green. I think that is just in the name. And also the Together Network is more about diversity within the company as well. But I think the extracurricular activity that's brought me a lot of joy in the past year is that I am the lead for a community which we refer to as the Young Technologist within my area of the business, where I'm sort of responsible for the growth and development of our grads and interns and apprentices. It is really rewarding because it's a blank canvas, and I get to do what I think would help our sort of new starters and people that are a little bit further into their grad schemes or internships. So yeah, really enjoy that actually, and it's given me a lot of good contacts. It's given me a lot of confidence, and also after planning things for these for our community, I always get like a almost surge of happiness as well, which is great in general. So
Brilliant. And finally, Mitchell.
Thank you, Kath. Yeah, so there's a whole sort of portfolio of different things you can get involved in at Atos, and I'm a sucker for not ever saying no. So fortunately this year I'm the GIA co-chair alongside a colleague. So it's the GIA community is one in which all graduates, interns and apprentices are part of, you know, for their whole scheme at Atos. And really my role as co-chair is to ensure there's collaboration within the community, and, you know, that we put on and make all GIAs feel part of this community, hold fantastic events. Abby and Roshana are leading 2 different work streams with that committee this year. And it's great really. And as Abby said, it's almost like a work side of university really. There's just so many different things to get involved in and push. And thinking of diversity and inclusion, I'm also the communications lead for the Armed Forces Network. So I have no personal attachment to the armed forces or have family members serving, but I'm really passionate about those that have served to enter employment, and that was my reason to join the Armed Forces Network. So I'm very passionate about that, and diversity and inclusion is a massive thing at Atos, and I think all employees I think all employees do affiliate to one network or another.
Brilliant, thank you. So we're nearly getting to the end of our time today, and I've just got one final question. I'm going to start with Atifa on this one, and the question is, in 3 words, it's going to be tough, but in 3 words, can you describe your experience of working at Atos as a graduate? Off you go, Atifa.
yes, of course, Kath. World of opportunities.
Wow, fantastic. Abby.
I chose 3 separate words for this actually, so quite different aspects, but I would say fun, diverse and agile.
Brilliant. Roshana.
Yeah, I would say supportive, collaborative and diverse like Abby.
Excellent. Mitchell.
I chose 3 words as well: rewarding, exciting and challenging.
Brilliant. So that concludes our session today. First of all, I just want to thank all four of you for volunteering to do this with me and to spread the word about Atos to anybody who's listening to this recording. It's been really great to hear a little bit of insight around why you chose Atos, how you found it since you've been here, and also giving those hints and tips as well to people. So I really appreciate you taking the time. And to all those of you listening, I hope it's given you an insight. I hope it's made you want to test the water and find out a bit more about Atos and our grad roles that we have, or our placement roles as well. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.